Hello, everyone, and this is Demeki with episode 208 of Chapter Tactics. Welcome to Chapter Tactics. This is where we go over tactics and strategies to help out both new players and veteran players alike. Tonight's topic, we're going over new codices we're excited about and which ones we think are going to shape up the meta. Again, I am your host, Demeki, and with me tonight is the voluptuous, sexy, eyeglass wearing, Spider-Man loving, John P.
Pew pew. What's up, y'all? It's John P. I guess I'm voluptuous nowadays.
Yeah, dude.
It's that voluptuous. COVID weight.
Yeah, that COVID weight.
Yeah.
And also joining us tonight remotely is the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Magikarp Usefly, Matthew Castro. Matt, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, dude, thanks for doxing me. No one knew my last... I'm kidding. Everyone knows my last name. Hey, guys. I'm not in the office today because I'm sick, so I didn't want to get everyone else sick. So doing my part remotely today. So you're going to see a really shiny forehead. Some would say it's more shiny than Bricky's.
Yeah, I would say that maybe. Just with the lighting. Just with the lighting.
Just in this situation.
Yeah. I can make it brighter. You guys want me to make...
No, please don't. Why do I feel like I look as pink as Bricky right now? Oh,
that's
wow.
because you are.
Maybe. And also, we have a special guest tonight. Coming all the way from Canada is the one, the only Skari. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Well, I have just woken and stepped out of my gestation tube. For all of you mortals thought you could get rid of me, and I have yet returned to torture your minds and take your souls. Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening. Put him back in the box, please. No, I'm
evening.
I'm kidding.
What an amazing intro.
That is an amazing intro.
My lord. Dude, that's a better intro than any of us could ever come up with at any point whatsoever.
I said voluptuous today.
Yeah, well, voluptuous isn't a word. Voluptuous is.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
It's just his accent.
Yeah, it's my accent.
It's a southern accent throwing it in there.
It's the southern in there, you know? We throw in letters that don't exist in words.
I think like
no one says shrimp. Everybody says scrimp.
Well, no.
You like scrimp?
Well, no. The letters exist. Wait, what are you talking about?
What?
Have you ever heard a southern
M
person?
exists.
Have you ever heard a southern person say oil? They say oil. They say
yeah,
oil.
You gotta get that oil.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And
That's
shrimp
true.
is scrimp. You want some scrimp?
Yeah.
Sandwich is sandwich.
Yeah, I can't say the word motorcycle. It's so hard for me. I have to think about it while I'm saying it. Motorcycle.
You mean motorbike?
You mean
Dude,
you mean like four-wheeler freaking, what's it called? The thing that you would get when you were a kid?
Oh, the power wheel. The power wheel.
Power wheel.
Yeah. That's a motorcycle, right?
Yes.
At that point?
Yes. Skari, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience, because some might not know who you are, and where they can find you at.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I'm Skari, the voice of Skari, the Archon. And I do mainly YouTube videos on YouTube and a live show on Twitch called Just Put Paint on It, which is a fun show where we sit down and talk to some really fun guests like Andy Chambers and Duncan Rhodes and down, and we put paint on stuff while chatting for an hour and a half. Usually weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. And other than that, do battle reports, play Dark Eldar. I've been doing a lot of stuff with mini wargaming lately. So yeah, if you like 40k content, you can find me and send me a message or leave a comment. And I tend to get back to pretty much everyone because I have no life. And this is my life. And I love all of you. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yeah. Also, for people that are on the stream, we'll cut this out for the podcast. But if you type in actually !guest, you'll come up with his stuff for his links and everything like that. Let me see if I can do it right now.
Thank you,
there
sir.
We go.
Hey,
Even
thanks.
though you're not here, you're still performing your magic, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, so there's his link tree with all of his links and stuff. Yeah, I was on what's it called? Put paint on it not too long ago.
Mm,
Oh,
just
yeah,
put paint on it. Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, it was really nice. It's like a really low key. You know what? Like in terms of you can chat anything from painting to like competitive stuff. But what I found is, especially in these times, like as the world opens up, it has been awesome to interact with people from all over the world and be able to bring them together internationally. I work a lot with Tanya Gates, the War Mistress, who has her YouTube channel, does her Twitch stuff as well, and we've basically been co-hosting this show for like, I want to say almost in like since January. I think January started, and it's like really been awesome. Yeah,
That's cool.
Nice,
I think
nice. I
Tanya,
love the War Mistress.
Yeah, I think Tanya is actually here in chat right now. If
Nice.
everyone wants to say hi to the War Mistress.
Please do.
Hi.
hi.
Hello. Yeah,
Skari.
you guys go over to that podcast. I was on there. They heckled me for like a good hour. That's all it was. We didn't even. There was no conversation. It was just them heckling me for an hour.
Skari,
Great
I feel,
wholesome show.
Yeah.
Skari, I feel like you and I have to, as both Dark Eldar players, have to eventually have a side conversation about Dark Eldar toes and how we feel about them.
Wait, why are you guys just inclusive? Why is it exclusive to only you two?
It's
What if
only
I
Dark
like the toes?
Eldar players. You haven't
But
played.
I want to
well,
talk about toes.
Oh, well,
Are we
then-
talking about the
I like
lack-
toes.
Are we talking
all
about
right,
the
we'll
lack of
play a match with my
toes?
Dark Eldars
Because
and-
we have fine cast models and they have no toes because it's all bubbles.
Yep. That's true.
Hashtag not my fine cast, fail cast.
Yep.
Failcast.
But we can talk about Lilith and her toes.
I have the old Lilith and she had toes, so I'm good.
I didn't have that one, so I had to get the new one, which I still don't have because it's not back yet.
She's waiting to be painted, and I'm okay with that model too. You know what? I'm just a glutton for punishment. Just give me a succubus of any kind and unleash her upon the battlefield and have her murder everything for 75 points. Yes.
I like it.
That's value.
Want that?
Yeah.
That is
want
value.
Great.
I don't have
what
any
can
of
I
that.
get for 75 points? Like
Yeah.
like 2 Blade Guard
You know
meds.
Bro, you know what I get for 75 points? I get a freaking Tyrannid Prime. That's what I get for like 75 points.
All right.
Oh
think-
my goodness.
I think tonight John P has something special for us. He is our Did You Know tonight. So John P, what do you have in store for us tonight?
All right, y'all. Did you know the Schism of Mars? So, the Schism of Mars was the deadly civil war that erupted on Mars between the loyalist factions of the ancient Mechanicum and the traitors of the Dark Mechanicum during the early days of the broader interstellar civil war known as the Horus Heresy. So, this civil war happened. It coincided with the Horus Heresy, essentially. The schism involved all Martian forces, civil, military, from knights, titans, to the most senior Adeptus Mechanicus personnel, also drawing in space marines and units of the Imperial Army. The schism originated in a climate of discontent. Relations between various magi were in a condition of tension, with outbreaks of violence and espionage, leading to even the Titan legions being suspected of secretly taking sides in potential hostilities. For years, factions on Mars had bitterly argued over the nature of the Omnissiah, with many believing the Emperor to be its avatar. However, a large faction led by then Fabricator General Kelbor Hal, sorry if I mispronounced that, maintained the Emperor a false idol, and the manifestation of the Omnissiah had yet to arrive. More importantly, Kelbor Hal harbored great resentment to the Emperor for his conversion of Mars into an arms factory for the Great Crusade and his ban on certain types of technological research, such as artificial intelligence. So that's essentially the beginning of the tale of the Martian Civil War. If you want to learn more about it, I suggest checking out Mechanicum, the 9th novel of the Horus Heresy series that focuses on this very civil war.
That's sick.
Yeah,
So someone's essentially Elon Musk
essentially, yeah.
because they don't like AI.
Nope.
Nice.
That's him, Kelbor Hal. That's civil war within a civil war. There's so many layers, man.
There's so many layers. It's like a dip, a 7-layer dip. So many layers.
Delicious.
Delicious.
Lord.
Matt, you have news for us, correct?
I do. Yes, I do. It's all on the top of my head here.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
You want me?
Yep.
You want me to go first?
Yes, please.
All right. So I am your hype man tonight. I wanted to tell everyone that we have a Dice Hammer Irvine GT next weekend. So if you're in the SoCal area, especially in Irvine, there is a GT that you can participate in. Just go ahead and Google Dice Hammer and GT, and you should be able to find it. It should also be on Best Coast Pairings if you're looking. Along with that, FLG is still selling, as far as I know, Lone Star Open tickets. So if you're in the greater state of Texas, especially I think near Austin is where it's going on at, be sure to go check that out on FLG's website, and you can purchase your tickets and participate there. Along with that, there's been some real hype going on in the Warhammer community with some Charadon Chapter 2 rules coming out, a little previews of some Belakor, and then, orcs and whatnot. Essentially, it looks like that we're going to see something coming soon pre-order wise.
More like orcs that shoot lasers out of their eyes. But
shoot lasers out of everything.
I don't know why they don't.
Every orifice.
I don't know why they don't have that already.
Oh, dude, that would be sick. That would be sick.
They don't believe hard enough to shoot lasers out of their eyes. That's why
They can't.
The only one is Gazgul, and that's it.
Dude, I should be an orc, because if it's just believe hard enough and you get to do whatever it is, then I want to be an orc. That sounds like the best superpower ever.
I believe.
If you believe hard enough.
Yeah, if you believe hard enough, you just do it.
It sounds like every Disney movie, every kids movie. You have this villain that trained his entire life, intense training, through wizards, caves, in water, super intense training, and then he loses some kid that just believed hard enough.
Yeah,
feels bad.
Yeah,
it
loses to literally Ash Ketchum or Naruto.
Boruto.
which are both obsessed in their own way, right?
The
evil. So it's okay, obsession trumps obsession. Yes, I agree. Which also means I'm really excited for what the pre-releases means for the future of competitive 40K. There's some really cool rumblings, and we've seen what they did with Drukhari. They've seen what they did with the broken Admech, and then no, I'm just kidding. See how I slid under the table there?
I see it.
But I'm really excited. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. Orcs are such an iconic faction, and they play differently than most things. So, as long as they don't do charts on charts on charts, like Games Workshop tends to do, be we have charts for your charts to determine what chart you should roll on.
Oh, God.
If you keep saying chart, I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'm going to get super excited because I love Excel spreadsheets.
They're just gonna go back to the allied faction chart that they used to have.
Oh no,
sixth edition. No, I veto that right now with my powers of veto-ness.
There's also Dominion. Dominion this week.
Yep, that's true.
Or this weekend. So if you pre-ordered your Dominion boxes, get prepared because Age of Sigmar 3.0 is coming out very soon.
I haven't got
nothing but good things about it.
I haven't got a shipping notification yet, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Hopefully, I get mine very soon.
Yep. And then Belakor. I think that we can just talk about this just a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because people are going to be talking about Belakor all this week. You guys can find that.
Oh, we're going to talk
all over
about
on the Frontline Gaming Network.
Plenty.
But Belakor looking real spicy. Has rules where he can ignore your invuln save. He also has that one psychic power. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? One of the psychic powers that he has, where it's for every model in a unit, you take their attack's characteristic and then you roll. Yeah. And for every 6 up, you get a mortal wound and you get +1 to that roll.
Yeah,
that's nasty.
It's very Curse of the Leper-esque. So
better.
Except better. All of his rules look very spicy, and it's definitely going to play into at least John and P and I talked about this beforehand, but it's definitely going to play into some of our choices of the main topic tonight. With that, I'm going to go ahead.
Wait. I'm going to read off the psychic power.
Okay, go ahead.
So there's the psychic power. It's called, I believe it's called Betraying Shades.
Okay.
Warp charge value 6. What you do is you roll a number of d6 equal to the total of the attack's characteristic unmodified of a unit that you point at. And for every wound roll of 6 up, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. And if your psychic test was 11 or more, you add 1 to the dice result. So if you go up to like a squad of Space Marines, like a 5-man squad of Space Marines, then you're rolling 10 dice, and every 6 is a mortal wound.
Witches have
Or witches,
like, 3
Yeah,
attacks each.
witches.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
And
that'd
each
just
more-
be like, and you're all dead.
Yeah, each mortal wound would kill one also.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be like a Space Marine. They have 2 wounds. Which is
Yeah,
have
and
one.
it's up to and you select up to 6 models in the unit. So there's a cap, but like let's say that you go up against Harlequin troop players, each one having 4 attacks each.
Attacks, yeah.
Yeah, so 24 dice.
Wait, I'm wondering if it's going to count on the charge because shock assault for
No,
Marines.
it says unmodified. So
Oh,
it has to be
unmodified,
their,
okay.
their stats
base stats.
characteristic.
Base stats. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He also is getting a 4 invuln.
Yeah.
And you can subtract 1 from the wound roll as well, just naturally from a ranged attack, which is nasty.
Yeah, boy.
You can reroll. You have to subtract 1 from your hit rolls as well. And then there's also a 2 CP strat where if you fail a saving throw for a Disciples of Belakor model, so whatever the faction is going to be for Cheridin, the damage characteristic of that attack is 0.
Yep.
If that
It's
applies
once-
to,
it's once per
vehicles and
battle,
Like
right?
imagine like a crazy dreadnought being like, "Bring on your last cannons," and then he's
Yeah.
like, "And 0 damage."
Yeah,
not only
and
do I
0
have
damage.
-1 damage, or a rhino or something that you just want to keep alive forever.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that'd be kind of cool.
It's only
Yeah,
once per
it's gonna be
battle,
nasty.
right? Or
No,
is it-
it's
no.
in any phase. So, like, literally, you can do it in your shooting phase. You can do it in your fight phase, and it's not once per battle. Belakor just has to be on the field, but it's only 1 saving throw. So it's not like when you fast roll and everything. So it has to be only 1
Yeah.
roll that goes through. It gets reduced down to
That's
0,
all that matters.
which is it's pretty gnarly.
I know what I'm building when I get home. All right. So this show is brought to you by frontlinegaming.org, where you can get amazing game mats for not just your 40K games, but almost any tabletop game out there. Purchase miniatures at a discount and join some of the largest 40K events in the industry. They also have the largest 40K podcast network in the business with shows like Signal from the Frontline, Chapter Tactics, 40K Game Changers, 40K Stat Center, Grim After Dark, and so much more. That's frontlinegaming.org, or you can either click on the link or the description of this podcast on all the social media goodies.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Nice.
We did it.
Dude, Demeki, you're being a better host than I am. Maybe you should just be perma host.
I'm super nervous. I'm so nervous.
You're doing a great job.
You're doing great,
Thank
sweetie.
you.
No, I followed a few.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So yeah, we're covering tonight Codex C's or Codexes. It depends upon who's saying it. And like what we're scared of and what we're looking forward to. So we've had a large majority of the books for 9th edition drop. Some have changed the way we look at the game, while others have fallen to the wayside. But every book has significantly had an impact on the game so far. Oaths of Moment, Mortarion, Secondaries, Drukhari, etc. So many questions, you guys are what codices. So many questions you guys
So
have.
my.
Yeah.
So my.
So my so my questions to you guys are: what codices are you looking forward to? Which ones do you think are going to change the meta, and why? Also, what would you like to see for upcoming codices? Yeah, so my. Yeah. So my. Yeah. See, that's the southern part. That's the southern part of me where I knew I would mess it up. Yeah. No, I'm just messing.
Now I know that Skari, being a beloved Drukhari player, you can't use Drukhari as an answer for this one. You can't be like,
Future codexes, I thought. we were talking about.
It's future
okay.
codexes, but we can put in like Sheridan.
Drukhari Codex in 10th edition.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I went to host brain again.
You went to host brain again. So I mean, let's kick it right off.
You were under the weather. You need to relax.
I'm just gonna relax. You know
Yeah,
what?
just
You're
relax.
right, Skari. I'm gonna relax,
Yeah,
and I'm
man.
just gonna
relax.
answer questions if whenever they're thrown at me.
So open forum. All right, let's go. I think every person should pick one codex right now for a faction that they are particularly scared of when they get their 9th edition codex. And I'm going to start with our guest, Skari?
I think that Grey Knights have one of the biggest, one of the biggest potentials of the game. If you look at what they've been doing for Space Marines, and then give it to Grey Knights, but then add in what Grey Knights. I'm asking you to like remember what Grey Knights were just before the pandemic started in like early 2019. No, 2020.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like they had just gotten their Psychic Awakening book, and they were really strong, and they didn't get to we didn't really get to see them come to fruition because of the fact that all the events shut down. And if you take that potential of what they could have done, like just murdering people with like lots of bolter shots from out of line of sight, and having chaplains do their litanies and give them extra range and crazy psychic powers and the tides and stuff, and then add in all this new Space Marine stuff, 2 wounds and transhuman physiology and like all this extra stuff. I feel like they have the ability to really mess some things up with a new Codex. Mm-hmm. So fingers crossed that I become terrified of Grey Knights moving forward.
Yeah, and you're talking about like the list. I believe it was like Lawrence Baker, right? He's the one that piloted like the big Paladin
one of
bombs
them, yeah.
and stuff.
It was like one big
like
Paladin bomb,
one.
or like double Terminator, or 2 there was a couple of iterations, and I've seen some great Grey Knight lists do well at like events, like little events and stuff like that. They just kind of they just fall short of we need to in 9th edition hold objectives, not just kill things. Because in 8th, just killing stuff worked as a strategy. In 9th edition, you have to be able to hold an objective and kill things at the same time. So, and I feel like, hopefully they address that. So I'm looking forward to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully they also like. I'm thinking that with the whole tides thing, how they nerfed it, right? Because like what was it? Tides of is it Convergence? No, the other one, Escalation for the mortal wounds, the 2 flat mortal wounds one. Yeah, they nerfed that one a little bit because they saw that probably going into 9th edition, being able to just pump out that many mortal wounds in 9th edition, pretty bad for what they wanted. But you're right. They do have a lot of really, really good psychic powers. They have Sanctuary, Gate of Infinity, right? Hammerhand, so much good stuff that they can run through, and seeing them go up to 2 wounds not 2 wounds, having their paladins become stronger, having their scouts become a little
2
bit
wounds,
stronger as
like
well.
all the Space Marines getting like an extra wound, and then potentially paladins going to like 4 wounds. You imagine like a paladin being more like an Alaris Terminator in terms of like survivability, but then with all the psychic potential, and then all the buff potential from like librarians and chaplains, and you know what I mean? And then who knows what they'll do with Drago. Like, they're going crazy with some of these big killy characters. Like Drago is an iconic, like very beefy combat character. So
I would also love to see what they're gonna do with the Dread Knights also, because Dread Knights are pretty big for Grey Knights, like aesthetically, right?
That's the baby carrier, right?
Yeah, it's the baby carrier. Right now you can have like the HQ have a 3-up invuln and stuff. So I want to see how they're gonna do with those Dread Knights as well. And then maybe I would love to see like one more unit being put into the Grey Knights Codex. I think that'd be pretty sick. But
I could see them, putting in, because the Grey Knights were technically like a long time ago, they were like a military wing of like the demon hunters, right? Like they were like used by the demon hunter inquisitors to go and like hunt demons. So I wouldn't be surprised they bring in more of that like inquisitorial stuff, and then kind of mix it very like Sisters of Battle, you know what I mean? And
exactly. I think that the only problem that I see with Grey Knights, I completely agree that I think that Grey Knights are going to change the meta, and it's going to be like a huge book that's going to drop. I think that the only problem is just Aboard the Witch, really. Seeing like what type of secondaries people are still going to take against Grey Knights, if that's still going to hurt them or not. I don't think that it hurts them as much anymore, Am I wrong in
No,
that? Sorry?
not as much, but it is one of those
Yeah.
where you go, okay, you have a bunch of psychers. I don't have any psychers. Okay, then I'm just going to take that.
Yeah.
However,
it's just free points.
yeah. However, with the increase of like psychers becoming more like crucial to some armies working, or like you want to take a psyker, then that like takes away your ability to pick that as a secondary. First of all,
Yeah.
and secondly, we're looking at Brotherhood of Psychers. Like right now, Brotherhood of Psychers is like a rule where you can pick like any model in a unit, and then that model costs the power or whatever. But maybe Brotherhood of Psychers also means like, well, if you kill this unit for Poor the Witch as a special Grey Knight rule, you know, this unit is worth 1 less victory point for secondaries or something like that.
Would be,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that'd be cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like, I want to know also if the psychic powers that they have now, if they're gonna still be there on the next Codex. Because like there are some really, really strong psychic powers that Grey Knights have access to. Like I said, you know, Sanctuary, Hammerhand. What else? Astral Aim.
Yeah, Astral Aim.
Word of the Emperor, whatever it is. Which, by the way, is really funny because the way they errated like normal moving and embarking onto transports, you can actually like grab a Grey Knight unit, get it to shoot in the psychic phase, and then move back into its Rhino, which is hilarious.
Oh,
So you can, like,
yeah, you're right.
Get them out of
yeah.
the Rhino, shoot stuff, get them back into the Rhino.
That I don't like that. I don't like
it's
that
like-
at all.
Yeah, well, you say you don't like that, but then look at sterilizers with AdMech, and you know you can't even interact with them. So it's the same thing, right?
That's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm totally down for.
That's
Grey
my
Knights.
vote. My vote, Grey Knights. The good old Grey Knights and the Trials of Drago.
Okay.
You know, maybe that can continue.
Well, I mean, like as a counterpart to that, because Grey Knights, you know, their codex is going to come out, and then right immediately after that, if not at the same time, you got K-Suns as well.
Yeah,
do you think that
boy.
K-Suns are going to change anything in the meta, or do you think it's going to be like the same old K-Suns?
If there's one thing I'm terrified of seeing on the table, is an army that can put out like 30 mortal wounds in a turn, and Thousand Suns can do that. So if you don't screen very well, you're just gonna just pick up models.
Yeah.
So they're another one of these armies. Like Grey Knights have so much potential, but it's also all the potential to not do enough for them, or to try and tame it too much, to then not do enough, or like way too much, and then be like, whoa, like we just went a little overboard. But I love, like, it's just they're cool armies to have because their dynamic is so different to like AdMech. I'm just gonna shoot you to death. Or Drukhari, I'm just going to run witches down your throat until you don't have any models left, you know? Or, you know, Space Marines, which are like, I've got a bunch of dreadnoughts and shoot you and just don't have a lot of other stuff on the board. You know, so I feel like it'd be healthy for the hobby to have like good psychic armies. It's like a completely different style of faction that you can play.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And that hopefully, I'm hoping that it doesn't become the Magnus show. Right, where it's just you're just gonna it's like kind of like what happened with Death Guard until people started realizing that DSTs were just, or Deathstrap Terminators were just so
broken.
Good.
You
don't
good.
need to bring Mortarion if you have that with Stench Bats.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Magnus gets a glow up, but it doesn't become just the Magnus army,
Well,
right?
I mean,
where it's just like all you run is just Magnus and that's it.
I think what it is too, though, is when you have a centerpiece model like Mortarion, and especially like with the new Belakor rules that are coming with the Charadon Chapter 2, like when you have a centerpiece like that and the model looks sick and everybody wants to run it right, they're like, I've painted this, I've been waiting so long, it gets a glow up, and you're like, I got to put it on the table. I feel like that's going to be the same thing with Magnus. Like, you're going to see a lot of Magnus lists for a while, and then people are going to be like, okay, well, I don't have to run Magnus. I also have access to these other units which are great and can do what I need them to do in order to get me points, right? I just think it's like a new shiny object thing, right? Like, ooh, squirrel, like, or, you know.
Yeah, well. You see, the problem is that like with K-Suns, what are their big like centerpiece or like their big models is what Rubric Marines going up to 2 wounds. That's going to be nasty.
Mutilex Vortex Beast, the Mutilith Vortex Beast.
Yeah,
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
You even know that existed?
No.
I do not. I don't even know what that
you.
is. You could have
the big, like-
could have just said random words to me, and I would have said
That big spiky beast looking thing, right?
Yeah,
That
so
thing,
it does mortal wounds to stuff, but it is a big model that's like was transferred over from like Warhammer Fantasy, I think, back in the day when they did a bunch of stuff. But like that's another thing. It's like the Thousand Suns faction has a lot of really cool like unique units, like Zangors and Zangor Enlightened and all this other stuff. It's like this whole culture, but you never really see that sort of stuff on the table anymore.
Right.
Yeah, because it like K-Suns became more of a soup faction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or like I need Armon. Or
Yeah, you need you need Magnus's towel boy. You need Armon on disc, right? So you got to bring him. Because like when I look at K-Suns, there's not a lot that pops up in my head besides Magnus, Zangors, Rubric Marines, and Armin. Right? Those are like the 4 big things that I think of when I think of K-Suns.
Yeah.
So they really need to make it so that everything gets to have playtime on the board. Because like what we're seeing now, especially with a lot of these codexes, is that GW doesn't really want us to soup that much, right?
Yeah.
So what if K-Suns get stripped away of being souped, right? Then what is it that they have available that can compete with something like Grey Knights with their Paladin bombs,
Right.
with their Dragos and their Dread Knights? You know what I mean? So
I would say that it's not that GW wants us to not soup. It's just that if we choose to soup, we have to take a penalty for doing so, right?
Yeah,
So
they've
it's
been doing
not
that a lot.
it's not necessarily
Yeah.
that they don't want us to soup. It's just that we have to take a penalty. So like
yeah, well that's kind of saying that they don't want us to soup that much.
right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking
Yeah.
at the glass half full. I'm trying to be positive.
I'm looking at the Magnus half empty. Right? So, I love Magnus because he's my favorite model in the entire game. So I hope that's something.
Hey, Magnus
good
with
after
armor,
that.
without armor for you.
I want him with armor, and every time you deal damage to him, everything is magnetic, and you strip away the armor.
You chip it away, and eventually he's just nude.
Strip damage, Magnus. I love it.
Yeah. Strip down Magnus.
I know exactly where to put the magnets.
Yeah.
John P., what about you?
Yeah, so mine was actually gonna be Grey Knights. I have a backup.
He's got a backup.
I got the backup. I mean, it's looming. It's coming around the corner. We all know it's coming. It's the T5 Orc boys. These, yeah. Just imagine
Hog?
just the thought of having to chew through 30 T5 bodies is not very pleasant to me.
Yeah,
not
like
at all.
if you think about it, right? Those T5 orcs, you go up against the standard of like Space Marines, right?
Yeah.
Space Marines have strength 4. Going up against a T5, going up against like T5 orcs, that's gonna be pretty brutal, depending on how much obviously they're gonna cost. If they're gonna cost like a lot, which I'm not expecting that they are, it's going to be pretty brutal for just like the bottom line average Space Marine player.
Yeah.
It's not only that, like they're also going to be able to Green Tide come back. They also have a lot of flexibility with all the cults that they can pick from. You can pick Death Skulls, the super OP one that rerolls everything.
They're gonna
they get OBSEC, they get 6 up invulns. If that sticks around, you can also take Evil Sons to be fast, and speed is king in 9th. Moving around the map, getting engaged, getting those scramblers. Evil Sons, yeah.
Orcs are always like one of that wild card faction, and of course with anything like we're talking about, like what do we expect? We of course we're talking with a grain of salt on everything, because you can't just take toughness 5 orcs and look at it in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It will make sense once we get to see all the other options, the faction bonuses, the detachment bonuses, and then of course the pages of stratagems they're going to inevitably give you that makes the faction like tick in a lot of ways and gives them a lot of their tricks. However, toughness 5, some people say it's not a big deal. It is for things where it matters, like the bolt pistols that would have killed you, or that like odd squad of Space Marines that would charge in and normally kill all your orcs because they would just wound you on 4s. Now wounding you on 5s, that's a difference. Like you might have a dude survive or whatever, and he can go do an action later or stand on an objective, or you know what I mean. Like it's like changing the math enough to make a difference.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Especially everyone nowadays is bringing Vanguard vets with claws and shields. And well, they're claws. They're strength 4. Even though you get to like reroll the wound roll, it's still wounding on 5s instead of 4s, which, like he mentioned, might leave that one extra dude.
Yep. I mean, even
against a huge like blob too. If this is all speculation. Obviously, this entire episode is speculation.
Yeah. This is all speculation.
But like even with that, like if it's a squad of 30 boys, right, and it's all T5. That's so brutal.
Yeah.
For like your like I said, like your standard Space Marine stuff, right? Everything that's going to be strength 4 is just now all of a sudden, kind of like useless against that matchup of orcs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it this way.
A Dark Eldar, a Drukhari Venom is toughness 5.
Yeah.
6 wounds, right? It has a 5 up in melee. Yes, -1 hit. Sure, but like, that's like a squad of 30 is like me having 5 Venoms that you have to like try and kill in a single turn. Considering they might be a weird boy giving them an invul or like something that gives them a -1 to be hit. That you're not just gonna as I said, not in a vacuum. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. I get what you're saying. Where it's not like just the T5 alone is its own thing. We're not even talking about like all the other buffs that you can give them, right?
I mean, yeah, great. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's basically it. It's just like we're not talking about even like the other buffs that they're gonna get, like even their weapons, right? What now their weapons are -1 AP as well, Nat?
Yeah,
I think.
I think so.
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like.
Which I will say, and this is from experience, it changed witches going from AP 0 to AP 1, and that made an incredible difference in their damage output. Yes, they gave them the extra attack or whatever, but that AP is one of the things I've noticed the most from game to game to game, where before my witches would just bounce off something, and now my witches actually like kill things. The addition of that AP. So it's awesome to see that on the choppers again.
Yeah, Demeki and I were actually talking about this recently. We were looking at whirlwinds for Space Marines, and one of them has a pretty strong gun, 6 strength, 1 damage, but 0 AP, and that no AP really makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
Like you mentioned, it just bounces off.
Yeah, I mean, it's my same problem with Tau, which I was going to get at, is that like if you look at a Tau Fire Warrior strike team, they have a 501 gun, right? So now on top of that, you're only hitting on 4s, and if you're up against an Orc boy, you're hitting on 4s. Wounding on 4s, and then you have no AP. Yeah. So like you can't even deny them a save. So they still get a save even if you hit and wound. Like
and especially the way terrain works nowadays, it's so easy to get that cover save.
Oh yeah, I feel out of everything, I feel bad for Tau. That out of all this so far, like I really feel bad
everybody
for Tau.
feels bad for Tau except for Reese. But like everybody feels bad for Tau.
But I mean, that's not even what I'm concerned about. Actually, I'm kind of concerned about Imcard. I feel like when Imcard gets their glow up, it's gonna hurt. Like when Tau gets their glow up, it might hurt, but I feel like Bane Blades and like 100 Imcard troops just shooting las blasters, or I'm sorry,
las
guns at you. Like I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of worried that Imcard might get one heck of a glow up.
And before guardsmen become T5.
T5 guardsmen with jetpacks.
T5 guardsmen, yes.
Nah, not a big deal. It's still a guardsman.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
The only thing that they're changing is that their las guns become strength 2.
I'm just I think the thing, so everything's getting like a glow up in some way, shape, or form. I like their tanks are still T7, right? So maybe they go to T8 along with their mana cores. Like I know we have no idea. The only preview we've gotten so far is Gaunt's Ghost, and
who are amazing, by
are
the way.
sick
they
models.
are very, very cool models. I have to admit, they are very cool models. They have some very cool rules. Like
Right now, competitively, they're one of the only the only guard thing gets a forward deployment, which in the meta right now, for example, anything that can forward deploy and like
huge
go into the middle of the board is incredibly important. So let's just hopefully they get more stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have Sentinels, right? Can't Sentinels forward deploy?
They pre-game move.
Yeah.
Oh, pre-game move, not forward
yeah.
deploy.
Which,
you're right.
so
Like
if you have an enemy that already put stuff up there for like it doesn't like they can stop you from getting up, right?
Yeah.
With like infiltrators or whatever. Another thing is to remember, Guard was I think one of the first codexes of 8th edition.
Right.
Right. So we're looking at like an early 8th edition codex for Guard, and when it came out back then, it was like really, really strong. It was like it was just crushing, like AdMech is doing right now. That was Guard at the start of 8th edition, with like giant blobs of infantry, where a commissar could like execute one, and they were fearless, and they just couldn't take them off objectives, and it was just nuts. So I would be terrified. They also have a ton of autocannon style things and kill all my transports, so I'm terrified of Guard.
Yep.
I kind of want to circle back a little bit about the whole Grey Knights question.
Okay.
Right? With the Grey Knights Codex. I'm sorry. I wanted to put this in. I completely
An
forgot.
echo in the warp here.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I arrived to the conversation late. But, what would be interesting is that if Grey Knights actually become broken and like a lot of it has to do with mortal wounds and stuff, Black Templars are probably going to see a huge uptick in play. That's going to be
anything that can ignore mortal
sick.
wounds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Black
That's going to be
Templars,
absolutely sick.
Space Wolves are going to be bringing the Hounds of Mordecai. Chaplains will be bringing the Litany of Faith to give that aura for 5 of Feel No Pain Against Mortals.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Imp Guard. No, well, the thing about Imp Guard is that with their glow up, I have to imagine that Games Workshop are going to absolutely change the way that the game works for Imp Guard because they have to, right?
Yeah.
If it becomes like Imp Guard vehicle heavy, then how are they going to survive at all? You know, we're already seeing all these las cannons, D3 plus 3 damage. We're seeing these dark lances come out. We're seeing all this just flat 4 damage that you're going to be able to deal to anything that's big, where you want to bring like smaller infantry now. And Imp Guard's all about their vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Your Legion Russes, your tank commanders, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Bane blades.
How are they going to survive?
They'll for some of the big tanks, like say a Lehman Russ, like sturdy Russ vehicle, I could see it gaining like a rule of max 4 wounds per phase, kind of like a Satan, especially if it's supposed to be like a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's a mechanic for that sort of thing for like bigger units that could make its way into some codexes in ways that we don't expect. Like they did it for Satan, they did it for Gazgul.
Yeah.
Is there another one that does that? I'm not sure if there's another one that does that. Well,
No, I think that's it so far. Because even Mortarion,
so far that's it. But
that was the longest like gossip that we had about Mortarion before we actually got the codex. It was like, oh, he's getting the gas treatment. And I was just like, Mortarion's getting a gas treatment? Like, really? And then it ended up not happening.
Yeah,
I mean, they probably play test.
Feel no pain. Like he's still really.
Yeah, he's beefy.
annoying.
Yeah. And I mean, but yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that could happen. I mean, I feel like they're always going to be a vehicle heavy army, especially even with the current meta. I mean, I hate to go back to, I mean, well, we haven't even really dove deep on it. I mean, besides earlier, but like Belakor is going to be nasty. He's going to be in probably a lot of lists, especially after the Charodon comes out. And like, so like the only way to deal with him as an Imp Guard or even like Tower or anything else is that you're going to have to bring something that brings the heat, right? And like that's normally a vehicle or a monster. So like, yeah, I don't think they're going to be. I would be surprised if they do something to make it to where they're less vehicle dependent, right?
Yeah, and then also with Bring It Down, right?
Yeah.
You have to also think about like the secondaries. If it's going to be vehicle heavy, like I said, GW has to not only do they have to glow up Imp Guard, it has to be the biggest glow up in all of 9th edition. Like, it has to be the biggest one because, like, the way that they're stacking up now, it doesn't make sense in the new edition if they want to keep the same play style of vehicle heavy with infantry as well, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and and I think that it's not even just it's them and Tau. Like they're both going to have probably some of the hugest glow ups in 9th edition.
Well, I think that Imguard's going to get a bigger glow up.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We've talked about Grey Knights. We talked about Thousand Suns. We talked about Guard. We talked about I don't know
Tau-ish.
other stuff.
Yeah.
But to be honest, thinking about this, one of the factions that could have the most profound impact to the way that we play the game right now is Genestealer Cults.
Oh yeah, I forget about them.
Oh yeah.
I just forget about that faction so much. I'm sorry, Skari. Go ahead.
Well, it's okay. They want you to forget.
Yeah.
They're gonna come out of the sewers and like take you away. Because even right now, okay, Genestealer Cult, yes, they're overcosted. They like in terms of, they can't really hold objectives very well because they don't have like mixing them in with Tyranids makes them like better. Tyranids and Genestealer Cults are in very similar boat. There's some good builds. However, you don't really see them at the top unless you're in Australia, in which case Eric just like makes them work somehow. Anyway, and like the blips, for example, if you play against a good Genestealer player that uses the blips effectively, even right now, with the state of the way the game is, it's one of the most obnoxious game mechanics in a competitive setting. Being able to just put a little marker down for every unit in your army in your deployment zone. And if you go second, your opponent goes first, they can't come within 9 inches of any blip by the end of their movement phase. And then you can like redeploy blips, move blips, put blips back into reserve, and literally like change your whole game plan based on your opponent's first turn movement phase. And it can be like really impactful, especially when there's a couple players that are the same like skill level. But then you say, okay, what are they going to do in the new edition? Like what sort of game mechanics are they going to put in there? Like, that just crank them up to 11. And that scares me because they also use Astra Militarum, like guard stuff in their armies.
Yeah.
So you bring guard up, or if they release that before guard, you'll get to see sort of like, I guess, if they put the guard stuff in there, you'll get to see what they're thinking for guard in that book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then seeing like a lot of their vehicles. What's the vehicle that they run a lot of? Is it
the rock grinders and the Goliaths.
rock grinder?
Jackal.
Yeah.
And then the little, those are the transports. But then you've got the riders, which are the, oh my goodness.
Jackal.
The jackal. Jackal?
Yeah, you have the jackals. You have the jackals with the satchel
Those are
charges.
those are the bikers.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other ones. Anyway, Dustin is going to murder me for not remembering what these are. So you run them every time. No. The little buggies with the last cannons on top. Hey, somebody in Ridge Runners. Ridge Runners.
Ridge
Runners.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah. Seeing that, and then seeing like them getting the D3+3 treatment as well, that's gonna be pretty brutal. Seeing what the heck they're gonna do with aberrants, because right now they kind of just like written off aberrants, where it's just like you're never gonna run them because they're just so expensive, like you said.
What happened is one of the developers went to the beach and was, this is Muscle Beach, and then was like, no. And then
No.
Yeah, I can totally see Genestealer Cults changing up everything, just because of, like, honestly, it doesn't even have to do with the stats. It just has to do with the blips and all the stuff that they can do outside of just the stats on their data sheets, right?
Yeah.
Because like they have stuff like a plan years in the making, right?
Yep.
They have some of the best, or not the best, but like the coolest psychic powers as well. What is it? Mass hypnosis, the one where you get to control a vehicle or something,
Mind control.
Mind control. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the deep strike shenanigans that they can deal with, right? There's so much, and then also all their flamers. I want to know what they're gonna do with their flamers and their acolyte hybrids, because like even right now, acolyte hybrids with like their flamers are pretty nasty right now.
And the fight and death, like especially in the meta right now, hybrids. If you're a Genestealer Cult player and you've just like not looked at hybrids in a while, open your book, look at hybrids, give them a whip, send them into combat, watch them die, and then kill whatever killed them. It's It's really they're quite good.
Yeah, it's a good trade. And then even they're what is it? The rock saw?
Yeah.
The melee weapon? Like even seeing that, like the problem that Genestealer Cults have right now is just that they can't stay on the board. You know,
No.
they're like literally the glass cannon.
They have no durability, no survivability.
Yeah. So if they're gonna stick with that idea, I can only imagine if they're gonna give T5 to Orks, I can only imagine that they're gonna make Genestealer Cults, not T5, but like give them some type of resilience where they need to stay on the board.
Maybe
because that's what every army needs.
Maybe a feel no pain.
Yeah. I don't know about a feel no pain. I'm pretty sure they already have a feel no pain available.
They're sort of like moving away from the feel no pain, but something like an invul or making them like dodgy and sneaky or something, or like a built-in -1 to wound, or some sort of stratagem where they can like, I'm gonna shoot you, and they're like, I'm not on the board. Yeah, you know, like they just disappear. You know,
I'm a lurker
as a
from
reaction.
StarCraft.
Scatter.
Scatter.
like vermin, like Skaven. They're like, I'm gonna shoot you, or like roaches, where you like put a light on them in the night. They'll like go like, you know, like.
So, how does everybody feel about the Cheridons versus the Psychic Awakening books? Like, better, worse, so? Like, what do you think of the Cheridon?
We've only seen one, right?
Well, we kind of seen two.
One.
We got one in a preview. So with the preview, we already know that like we're getting Belakor rules, we're getting demon rules. They even said that we're going to see some Chaos Space Marine rules recently. But like we can kind of look at the first book and see like what we got with Admech, Imperial Knights, and then also what we got with Death Guard and Drukhari, and kind of guess like how we think this is comparing to Psychic Awakening. I mean, honest to God, and I'm not being biased just because I'm Death Guard and Drukhari player. I'm not being biased. I like it. I mean I think that like the Cheridon was pretty good compared to the Psychic Awakenings that we saw in 8th. Now I think that the downfall for Psychic Awakening was that COVID happened and most of us didn't even get a chance to play it. Like, you know, the Greater Good, or what was your second word?
Saga of the Beast.
Saga of the Beast. Like, a lot of us didn't even get to use our new rules. So we just
Saga of the Tears.
Straight into 9th.
Saga.
But now we're already getting like a Psychic Awakening with these Cheridon books. Like, how does everybody feel about these? Like, is it adding a new style of gameplay? Is it changing anything up? Like,
so I think that the Psychic Awakenings were already good on their own. Besides like some of the stuff like the pick your own faction thing.
Yeah.
Besides that, like a lot of the Psychic Awakenings were pretty good, pretty decent. I honestly don't know much about like the new Cheridon. Maybe Scari, if you wanna expand on that, on your thoughts on what you think about the Cheridon so far.
Well, you see, the Book of Rust, the book 1 of the series, takes us down the winding road. If it's more like Cult of Strife stuff, then please give us more, because Cult of Strife was incredible. But that's the thing about like campaign books, is it tends to be very hit or miss. Like, for example, you look at Cult of Strife, and it's like every competitive Dark Eldar army that is worth its salt runs Cult of Strife because it's just that good, right? Yeah. And then before the new AdMech book, you had some AdMech players running some of the Metallica stuff because it added a lot of like things to the AdMech book, like an auto advance 6 and this and that kind of really helped the faction at that point in time. But then you look at like knights and stuff. There's some, and you know, if you read those stratagems for knights, and some of those are really cool. Like the concepts of like the shadow of this knight makes you so scared that you count as an engagement range within 3 inches of it instead of 1, so you can't shoot. You know, that sort of thing. Like that's really fun, but like knights are terrible. You know, like so. You know, it's just kind of overshadowed by the fact that the faction doesn't really do very well in the game right now. So I personally like it. I prefer what they did with the Psychic Awakening, which they gave basically as many factions as possible quickly. They were like, here's a bunch of rules, and we didn't get to see it. But they tend to do that towards the end of an edition. where they'll go, this is all the crazy we've been saving. And then they like send it all at once. And there's like 6 months to a year of just absolute madness.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like reset with a new edition. Right.
Yeah.
And, but I like this. This is something that you can kind of use. I just hope that it's not just only you and they kind of like give other factions a chance to like shine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that because like with the Psychic Awakenings, like what you said, where it just unlocks everything, right? Like with Space Wolves, Ragnar, Touch of the Wild, right?
Rest in peace.
And then even with like Nids, their Psychic Awakening was like Blood of Baal was amazing for them. Really helped out the faction a lot. And like even in 9th edition, it still helps out the faction. That's how good the Psychic Awakening was. But with the Cheridans, seeing, I think that the only thing that I like about the Cheridans as of right now is just seeing what they're going to be doing with other armies in the future when it comes to 9th edition when their codexes drop, right? Seeing the new stratagems that you can run with knights and kind of like guessing what knights are going to be like in the new in their new codex, I think is more or less what I'm looking at Cheridans as of right now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, well, like even it's just so odd too because like we got the original launch date of the Sheridan was supposed to be back in December, right? And that was also when we were supposed to get Death Guard, which we did get, and then immediately after that was supposed to be Dark Angels and Drukhari, right? And we get the Sheridan like I think the following month, February. And I'm looking at it in like Terminus Est Force, Assault Force, right? That's the new-ish like plague company for Death Guard, and I haven't seen it run yet. But with the rule, you have, and I'll
tell you, yes, it's a lot of restrictions, but for like team play, like WTC style team play, where you can kind of pick the matchups, it has some fantastic tools for very specific like ideas if you want to create something to like as a defender list, for example, where you just want to like have bodies and bodies and bodies. Anyway,
I mean that's the way I kind of looked at it. I was like, oh, Death Guard has like kind of a way to be a horde, right? Because we have Poxwalkers and we got the Cultists and then we got the Plague Marines and all these different Terminators. So like it brings a different style to the army than what we've seen, instead of seeing like Plague Burst Crawlers and Mortarion, and then like all the other I have to say Death Guard has some of the coolest vehicles that in the game, and like it's interesting to see a stipulation where you're like, all those cool vehicles, no, but here's a whole new build with new psychic powers, new abilities, and new stratagems, and go for it. But we haven't seen it yet. Like it hasn't. At least I haven't seen it in a pro play list per se, tournament wise. At least I don't remember seeing one. I might have missed it, but like so far, no. I think it's cool. I think it adds a different depth to the army since it just got a new codex, right? But other than that, I'm excited to see it. I want to see it. I want to see it happen.
Dude, why don't you ask?
Agree with you.
Why don't you ask me what codex I'm excited for?
All right,
Demek.
you know what?
Demek, what about you? What's the codex that you're excited for?
Well, how about we do everybody, and then we'll wrap it up with this. All right. So the codex I'm most excited for, I can't deny my boys, which they're my first army. I have to say is Tau. I'm going to be excited for Tau. When Tau comes out,
don't tell Ricio.
When Tau comes out,
he'll nerf it already.
I'm going to be happy for it. They need some love. A lot of these armies that we talked about today need some love. And while I'm not scared of my Tau brethren and sisters, will be happy when we get our codex. John P., what about you?
Was the question?
To go on Tau though, like, dude, what are they gonna do with marker lights? What is that?
I'm not worried about marker lights.
They could give better buffs to the marker lights.
Yeah, I mean, they all I know, I mean, I've beaten on this dead horse, I don't know how many times, but like, there just needs to be a change to the marker lights. We all know that. Most top players can look at marker lights and be like, this is trash. Can I get something better? I mean, that's the same reason why we run Farside Enclave, so we can automatically get that one marker light, right? And we get that reroll to ones. It's going to be interesting to see changes and see how they come. Maybe they give commanders reroll ones for core units, like captains. I don't know. But like marker lights are probably the biggest problem for the army because one, the buffs are not worth or almost not worth the cost of the unit that carries a marker light because it comes at an additional cost no matter what. So it's like it's a hindrance rather than a buff, right? Mm-hmm. Because I need it in order to get to ballistic skill 3 for that +1 to hit. So, you know, you
have to give it to the developers though when thinking of the Tau Codex, because it really only affects the game in like a couple of phases: movement, shooting mainly, and like maybe combat if you need extra movement and you're not trying to kill stuff. At least right now. So like you really need to make their shooting make up for the fact that you don't have anything else. No psychic powers, nothing like that. And just overwatching doesn't really do that. Like it does, but it doesn't.
It's awful.
So
it's awful.
So it's one of those where like I hope is a good Tau is I think really healthy for the meta, because I really like it I think it's really healthy when you have like certain factions that just are generically better against other factions, not necessarily hard counters like rock, paper, scissors, but that will go, oh, I'm building this faction that's really strong, like AdMech. But if I go into this Tau player, like I need to have tools to deal with that.
Yep.
And therefore, by putting tools in, I'm actually less powerful against Space Marines, but Space Marines are good against the Tau, and it's like a good, healthy sort of mix, right?
Yep. I agree with that.
Yep.
John P.
What was the original question?
The original question is, what codex are you most looking forward to?
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep it short and sweet. Orks. Orks cool.
Wog.
Wog.
All right. Matt.
Now, all right, I'm going to keep mine long. Because I wasn't able to talk about what codex I'm excited for the edition and what I think is going to break the game. But you know what? I'll keep it short. Okay, codex that I think is going to break the game. I think it's actually going to be demons or Chaos Space Marines. I think that their new book is going to completely change not only how those armies play, but also will better define how Chaos is going to do as an entire faction as a whole. Because like the way that we see Chaos now is that it's a souping faction, or it's a souping category, right? With armies,
right?
You want to run, Demons Undivided and stuff like that. Run Lord of Change with Magnus, things like that. But we're already seeing that Warp Time is only available now to your Cult division, right?
Right.
So I think that Chaos is going to get a huge glow up, and we already saw it with Death Guard. And I think that seeing Chaos Space Marines coming in with all the different factions that they have available to them, seeing them being reworked, like Emperor's Children, what are they going to do with Noise Marines, Chaos Demons, like what are they going to do with Khorne? I would love to see what Khorne's going to happen with. I mean, like Bloodthirster obviously just kind of sucks. But when you look at Chaos Demons, the only factions that you're looking at is what, Tzeentch and Slaanesh, and that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe Nurgle sometimes, but not really. So seeing demons who also have mortal wound spam that coincide with K-Suns, right, and Grey Knights, one of the armies that have access to a lot of mortal wounds, I think are going to be incredibly strong in the with their 9th edition codex, and seeing all of the different demon factions, be put onto the same playing field as Slaanesh and Tzeentch is going to be extremely powerful. And Berserkers finally getting their limelight to do what they're supposed to do and not just do half of what they're supposed to do and then die because someone interrupts. That would be cool. Or not berserkers, maybe bloodletters. I can't remember which one it was. The army that I am excited for a new codex with, obviously I could say Tyranids. But I think that the army that I'm most excited for is going to be Chaos Space Marines. Just because of like what I said, they have so many tools that they can access. And I would love to see them just not be, hey, we are the bad version of Space Marines. You know?
Well, what some consider the bad version.
We're spiky Space Marines.
Yeah, we are the spikier Space Marines, and that's our whole shtick.
All right. Skari?
Well, I feel like Genestealer Cult will have the biggest impact personally because I know good players that are going to play the crap out of the weird, crazy like shenanigans they're going to be able to pull, and that's just annoying. And then the codex I'm most excited about, 9th edition Drukhari Codex.
Cop out.
That's it. Mic drop. Don't need to say more. Now, I'm actually really happy with like personal codex. Although I'd probably be most excited about the Black Templar supplement. Black Templars being the first army I played, and I'm Devout Push and all that stuff is really fun. So hopefully they get some love and they're not just like squatted because like all their heroes are like, not Primaris.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel that. All right. Well, that is the end of this episode of Chapter Tactics. On the next episode, we're going to discuss how do you prepare for an ever-changing meta. Just because 9th is ever-changing. We always have new stuff coming out. So that's it for me and all the other gentlemen that joined us today. Thank you. And we will see you next time. So leave a comment below on this YouTube video and let us know what you think of this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Patreon.
And hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/dicecheck. Also, make sure to, if you want to support this podcast in particular or the FLG network, go to patreon.com/chapter tactics. And that's it. Thank you all for coming.
What about
out.
Skari?
And
Skari.
Yeah, hit Skari up on patreon.com. I'm sorry. Hit Skari up on patreon.com/Skari. Can you fill me in here?
/Skadcast. SKAREDCAST. Oh, all the goodies. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You are a beautiful man and a wonderful gentleman. And
I will go back into my gestation tube.
And once again, thank you all for coming out. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.